What's up, everybody? I'm TJ.
And I'm Kelsey, and we are
the Nashville Wine Duo.
Well, thank you so much. We're so excited to be here with TJ and Kelsey.
Yes.
I mean, I
Yes.
feel like we know you guys.
I know.
Like,
just over a few minutes of
you do
chatting.
know us.
Yes.
we do. we've been exchanging. I mean, we've been exchanging stuff over Instagram. Now we're talking to each other. It's so fun. It's fun. We like this a lot.
Yeah.
This is like a dream. This is a dream come true for us.
Oh,
Yeah.
us
Oh
too.
my, yeah. I was
Us
gonna
too.
say, you guys, are you kidding? We've been super excited about this.
Yeah, and
so.
we're excited to talk to you guys, ask maybe a few questions, learn a little bit about Nashville. Never been
right.
to Nashville. It's on the bucket list.
And if I feel like Seattle meets Nashville, Nashville meets Seattle. This is like the perfect,
Yes.
meeting of West Coast meets. I don't even know what Tennessee would be, but it's
Yes, Tennessee, yeah.
We all pause.
Yeah.
Like, wait, can we Google that really quickly? I'm gonna just Google
Right?
that.
I'd say the South, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, before we ask some questions about Nashville, we're going to ask some questions about you guys, the Nashville Wine Duo. How's that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay. We want to know a little bit about two of you. So first thing we want to know is, how did you two meet? Was it love at first sight, or did it take a little bit of time before the spark started to fly?
Right.
Well, it wasn't quite like y'all's relationship with Alexa.
Which, leaves a lot to be desired,
Right.
probably.
Yeah, so we met, about 5 years ago now?
Mm.
Yeah, TJ's been in Nashville for over 20 years, and my
wow.
family had moved here in 2007. And yeah, TJ has been working with Trader Joe's for about 14 years.
Oh, wow.
Mhm.
And about 6 years ago, I started with the company, and I had moved back to Nashville and transferred to the opened up here in Nashville and Green Hills. It was the first Trader Joe's in Nashville, so it was a very big deal. So yeah, he'd been there a long time, and then I transferred, and we were both working there at the same time. We'd become really good friends, and we're very candid about this. We were both going through divorces at the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so not a lot of people knew about that, but he was a manager at the time, and I had to kind of tell him. I didn't know about his divorce, but I told him, I was going through a hard time, and I had to kind of tell him about my schedule situation, and stuff was just difficult, and he was just very understanding. And and through the whole thing, it was just a hard time. I mean,
Sure.
You can go ahead and continue if you
Yeah. So through that, we kind of just struck up a friendship, and would talk about our trials and everything, going through divorces at the same time and stuff. And months later, after our divorces were final, I asked her out on a date.
Nice.
And as the old story goes, the rest is history.
The rest is history.
I love
Nice.
it. That is
We
so
kind of
fun.
we hit it off.
A nice happy ending, right?
Yeah, it really was.
Well, we got along really, really well, and and he's got 3 girls, and I connected with them very quickly, and and then within probably 6 months after that, we were just like, what do we have to lose? We're older now, and we feel like this is right, and so we got married within 6 months after.
Oh my
that's
gosh.
awesome.
It's more like, I shouldn't say a happy ending. It's a happy beginning. Right?
Yeah.
Right.
We've been
Yeah.
married for about 2.5 years.
Yeah. Nice, you guys.
Well, you guys, it's very clear. You have a nice relationship. You get along so well. It's so fun to listen to you talk, and love watching you guys on Instagram. So it's so nice to it's clearly a strong relationship. So that's fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
It's been great.
Yeah,
Well,
we have
and
a
I
lot of fun. Life is short, so we just
That's
drink
right.
wine and have a lot of fun.
It's the
right.
best. That's the right attitude.
The rest will kind of fall in place, and if not, you'll kind of sweep it up and throw it in the trash and start a new day. So.
We did
For
say that we
sure.
wanted to kind of counteract y'all's questions, so you guys are gonna have to tell us how you met too.
Yes.
Oh,
boy.
I'm gonna let Carmela tell this one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
at least I'll start out. But let's just say it wasn't over a glass of wine, because I was 11 and Joe was 14. And Joe was 14.
We've known each other a really
A
long
really long
time.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, that's
So
crazy.
when he was 14, my older brother had started high school, and he brought Joe home as his new best friend.
Like a wet dog, I think.
No. So Joe very quickly became, especially because, we're both Italian Americans, come from big families. And so he very quickly became one of the sons, like one of my brothers. It sounds kind of creepy, but it just was, Joe was just around. And so I think I had to learn to love him.
Yeah,
No,
it took a while.
No,
but we didn't, so we
No.
knew each other for forever, but we didn't date until Carmela was almost out of college. So
Yeah.
we were definitely adults and older, and it was time for me to ask her out, and I was a little nervous about it, but she said yes. Thank God.
Well, we don't want to believe this, but sometimes we think that maybe it was an arranged marriage because he was around all the time, and my parents loved him, my grandparents loved him, and I kind of just over time we just kind of grew really fond of each other, and then I was what 21, 20 or something like that, and actually when we started dating. We really, at the time, it seemed pretty quickly because we dated for 8 months and then got engaged. And so people were like, oh my, wait a minute. Like, he's here with you? He's not here with your brother? And, so it was a little bit of everybody kind of getting used to, the fact that he was around with me and not with one of my brothers. So,
and I always like to say, because I was so close to the family, but when we got married, I got demoted. I went from son to son-in-law. And so but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
Her parents treat me like one of their kids. My mom treats Carmela like her daughter. So it's
all
awesome.
Good. Yeah, it's really good. So
Very sweet.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun story. But so okay, now we've learned, like, just from listening to your podcast, some different qualities that each of you have. But we're kind of curious to hear again, just like your take on like what you would think of each other, like how you would describe one another. And I know we've heard that, like, I think Kelsey, you've said that TJ is more of like the more like type A go-getter, and that maybe you're not really like a total morning person, but we're just kind of curious how you describe each other, to us or to other people, what would you say each other was like?
Stumped. We stumped them.
No. Well, Kelsey would, we've said this in the podcast, but Kelsey refers to herself as the sloth of the relationship. So she's kind of just
I don't believe
it. I refer to her as like the spontaneous, like live life by the moment. Like, she's just
nice.
Yeah.
But with all that energy needs a lot of rest.
That's okay. That's okay.
You let out all that energy into the world, you need those times to really
She needs her chill time. So she likes her quiet time. She likes just to relax and rest. And I don't think we've ever told people this, but she loves like true crime, like documentaries, like anything. Like, I get scared watching this stuff because the stuff that she dives into, I'm like, this is some serious, crazy true crime stuff.
I do.
She eats it up.
Sounding too familiar.
See, Kelsey, I feel like there are times where you and I are kind of similar in some ways, because I like the true crime stuff, and Carmela is not so crazy about it.
TJ, that's so funny, because I'll go into our bedroom and it will be, everybody's supposed to be settling down, quieting down, relaxing, getting comfortable. And he's got the most intense crime show on. I'm like,
Carmela, I agree with you. I'm vibing with you so much right now.
I'm like, we got to turn this off, buddy. Yes. This is too much for me right now.
I agree, 100%.
I love it.
That's so funny, though. Oh my goodness. Okay. So tell us a little bit about TJ then. Besides, that part of him.
Yeah. Well, like, there's so many things about TJ that I totally love. Obviously all of us have our like pet peeves about people, but I think one of the things that, like, when I first came to Trader Joe's, everybody just kept being like, oh my gosh. I was like, so who's the best person that works here? And they were like, well, TJ. I was like, what's this guy with TJ? Everyone's talking about this TJ guy. Why does everybody like him so much? I tested for myself, and then I would just watch him interact with people. And he just had this genuine kindness. Like, anyone that he would meet, he'd know their name, he'd smile, he'd ask how you're doing, like the the customers and the people that worked there. And so it was a really big deal to me, because I think I had seen from like previous relationships of just like always feeling like I had to walk on eggshells around a person, or like watching them interact with people and like they weren't kind. And so seeing this person that was just so kind to like everybody they met, and like try to joke with people and like make an older lady feel like she was a special. Like he
Oh.
just goes out of his way to make people feel special from like, you know, any age or whoever they are. And that meant a lot to me, just like somebody that cares for other people. And so I knew that like that quality, like he was just gonna care for me really well. And so, you know, and he just
Oh.
embodies that. Like he just does things that like sometimes I'm like, I can't believe he does that. You know, he really like takes care of me. But
Yeah.
like in every aspect, like just takes care of me emotionally. And so he's
That
just
is so nice.
kindest man, and he just loves hard. So
Oh,
That is so
Very
nice.
sweet, baby.
it's true.
Oh,
That
I
is so
love
nice. And
that.
you know, I'm not surprised by it. You know, TJ and I have gotten to know each other a little bit over the last, you know, week or so, texting each other. Just so nice, so
Yeah.
accommodating, so kind. So
That
I'm
is
not
so-
surprised at all.
You
Yeah.
guys are sweet. Thank you
Well,
very
it's
much.
always nice too to hear people talk about each other, like in a marriage. I mean, we know so many people who have been married for many, many years, and I don't think that they could come up anymore with those like beautiful things about each other. So it's so nice to talk to a couple who like genuinely can pick out like really special, important qualities that make you happy. So I think that's very, very sweet. So thank you
now
for sharing that.
we need to hear those beautiful qualities about each other from you guys.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
okay. Well, I'll start with what Carmela would say about me. I'm incredibly handsome. I am super. I'm the nicest. No.
That's pretty good. That's a good
No.
start.
Dude,
Yeah,
come
we
on.
know
Right.
that. We know
Right,
Tell
that.
something we
right.
don't know.
I
Oh
know,
yeah.
Well, and it's
exactly.
funny because now we're into our 27th year of marriage.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, it is one of those things you're like, why do I love him? No, I'm kidding. No, no, I'm teasing. No, Joe makes me laugh every single day. That is
Aw.
always super important to me. Just to, in fact, like if we have an argument, which we
never
argue.
argue.
Yeah,
We
I mean,
never
we
argue.
haven't today
Never.
Right.
anyway. I don't think
Never.
today.
Yeah.
But no, but he is always the one that is like he comes out of it very quickly. Like I'll still be sort of like a little like miffed about something, and then you know he's kind of doing something to lighten the mood, and I'm thinking to myself, hey, I'm still kind of mad, and he's like, no, he wants to move on. So you know he's very very easygoing like that, and he's also the most hardworking person that I've ever met, and he loves his family to the core. He just that's like first and foremost, no matter what. And he's super good to me. He's always like checking in on me. And so we've just, I think, have always been pretty balanced when it comes to our relationship. And I think that's probably what's kept us together for so long too.
That's
So
good.
yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Carmela is just super nice, always kind to people. She's super tolerant of me. She puts up with a lot.
no.
She will just take care of stuff. And she's also been very good about like, I have taken a few twists and turns in our lives, and she's always been super supportive and just always there. And so it's a good pairing. She's a good balance for me. I'm a little anxious and and hyper, and she's pretty mellow, and nothing kind of gets her goat, and so it's nice. It's a good combo.
Yeah, it is.
So not only are you the wine pair podcast, you're the human pair podcast.
I guess,
maybe most of the time.
Well,
Yeah.
there's also, so we both come from Italian families, and there's on the day we got married, one of Carmela's uncles came up to me and he said, we don't do divorces in this family. We do weddings, and we do baptisms, and we do funerals. And that was
that's how it went. Yeah, but when he said and drownings.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
That's kind of awful.
So
Which is
I
something
have
completely different than baptisms, right?
Yeah,
Yes, that's right.
exactly. Yeah.
So I have no choice. But,
Yeah,
Right, you're
he's-
stuck.
Yeah, he's stuck. He's stuck.
So
Okay.
bringing it back to like all the wine, how did you guys get into doing the wine podcast?
Oh boy.
better
So so Carmela's father has always been into wine, and I didn't really know anything about it before we got married. And Carmela's dad started initially being really into French wines, and then got into Italian wines. And so the long story is that he sort of introduced me to wine and kind of an appreciation for wine, and it was still kind of like just sort of interesting thing for me, but I never was really too into it. And then over several years, it just became kind of a bonding thing for me and him to to learn about wine, especially Italian wines. And then as over time, we started doing more and more, like, we would do family dinners and we'd do parties. And I would think a lot about, hey, what wine should we serve? And started learning a little bit more about wine. And we traveled a little bit. And so I just started getting really interested in wine and started to get really interested in how do you taste wine and what are the different things that, you hear wine experts talk about different tastes in wine and smells in wine. I just wanted to get better at it. I wanted to learn a little bit more about wine. And so I started to kind of learn a little bit. And then, I would Carmela, I'll let Carmela talk a little bit, but I do remember during the whole COVID thing, our oldest son was at home and we were having a wine and I was bugging him, like, what do you taste and what do you smell? And he kind of put his head in his hands and he said, Dad, you should just start a podcast. And so I was like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. And I guess for me, I always want to find wines that I like, but that my price point is not super high. Like Carmela's dad, he's got a high price point. I don't have as high of a price point. So I always want to try to find wines that are sort of, $20, $25 is kind of where I want to find great wines that are kind of in that range. And it's hard to do. And I thought, well, that's kind of a fun thing to do for a podcast. So,
yeah.
Well, and the funny thing is Joe is very artistic. He's always, he always needs sort of an artistic outlet. He's a singer, a professional singer, and he he was many moons ago, but he can still sing really well. And then he plays the drums. He's been in bands. He's always looking for something to do that's sort of, creative. And so he just kind of and he also was really good about like doing things. He's always finding things for us to do together, especially now that our kids are all adults, which is really scary, but they're all, young adults. So all of a sudden he was just one day like, I'm going to do a podcast and it's going to be all about wine and you're going to do it and you're going to do it with me. And I was like, okay. So that, I feel like it just was something that he was also looking for, that outlet too, and then it was a way that we connect anyway as a family around food and wine and pairing. And so it came kind of naturally, really, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about you guys? Could you guys began your Instagram page before you did your podcast?
You've been the Nashville Wine Duo for a while, and you guys are kind of like what we would call, I think, you're influencers.
Yeah.
Are you influencers? Is that a good way to describe? Because you didn't start out with a podcast. You started out with this.
Well, some people say that, yeah.
I would think so, yeah.
We don't identify, like, to hear us called influencers is so, like, I don't know, foreign to us. We don't think of ourselves as influencers.
But we don't really be like, oh, we're not, and we are. Whatever. Yeah. It's kind of like, I don't know. Okay, so like, I think in some sense, yes, but in other ways, no. So it's very complicated when you actually get into like the Instagram world of influencers, especially if you're in the wine industry. So once you really dive into Instagram, and people that are on Instagram and kind of have really gone full-fledged into this will understand. And I think any digital platform has their own way of like groups and things that things happen. But there's groups online and on Instagram. So there'll be like, so for instance, there'll be like the book people and all the people, you're a book influencer and you always post about books. So then all the book people all follow each other. And then all the book people will post photos of books. And then if you are in the book club and you all only follow each other, typically your photos will usually get 500 likes to 1,000, and you'll get over 50 comments because you're all commenting and liking each other's things. So does that make sense?
Yeah,
totally.
Okay. So the same thing happens. There's a fashion group, there's a foodie groups, and there's a wine group. So pretty quickly we realized when we started our wine Instagram that there is this massive world of wine Instagram people. But they all follow each other and they all like each other's stuff and they all comment on each other's stuff. So really you're only sharing information with other people that know about wine. You're not actually relating to people that don't know anything about wine.
Yeah, you're not educating people that are wanting to
learn about
wine, and newly into wine, and they're trying to figure out their palate.
So it's more so, and not everybody in this club is like this, but from what we saw, we kind of quickly realized we didn't want to be a part of that. We wanted to like do something different, and we wanted to like go against the grain and like more so relate to the everyday person that doesn't really know anything about wine, because we felt like there wasn't a big space for that. And you'd see these things, and again, we've talked about this in a previous podcast, where I felt like there is a lot of accounts that women in particularly felt like they had to very overly sexualize themselves to get a lot of likes on pictures.
Yep.
They have wine Instagrams where it's like sometimes the wine isn't even in it. It's just like, a provocative picture. But they're a wine account. And like, I just never wanted to do that. Like, we wanted it to be very like, I guess not necessarily modest is the word, but just like, we didn't want it to be that kind of thing. And there's nothing wrong with it being that kind of thing either.
It just wasn't our thing.
Just wasn't our thing.
Totally.
We still want to have fun and keep it lighthearted, but we just wanted to point people in the direction of a good wine.
Sure.
And and one that was like, we felt like it was like, also the wine people were like, well, you can't really, it's got to be this really expensive bottle, or it has to be this like major wine label. And we just thought like, well, the everyday person doesn't know about these wines, doesn't care. Sometimes they don't care about like knowing about the terroir. They don't care about knowing the grape or where it comes from. They just want to know if it's good or not.
Right.
And I think a lot of us that gave us that knowledge from just like working in a grocery store where we sold wine, and not just your average grocery store, but Trader Joe's. There's a different caliber of wine that we believe we sell at Trader Joe's, and it's very similar to the Costco way of selling wine. But it's really good wine that you can get for inexpensive prices. And TJ was writing the wine order, I was writing the cheese order, and before the pandemic, we were just like, well, let's just start posting about this stuff. And we had met I think one of the things that dived us into the Instagram was there's a lot of people that are Instagram people in Nashville, and we had met a few of them at Trader Joe's. We didn't know anything about Instagram, but there was a girl that she has a cheese Instagram, and I had talked to her multiple times at Trader Joe's. Her name's Cheese Gal, and
awesome.
So the crazy story, like I'll make it short, but people were coming through the line and they were buying this Beaujolais Nouveau like nonstop. And eventually I just asked, and I was like, why are you buying this Beaujolais? And she said, well, Cheese Girl posted about it. And we're like, who the heck's Cheese Girl?
Oh, I think I remember hearing this story. Oh my God. Go ahead.
Both of us were, we were off the grid. We weren't off. We were not online after our divorces. We were like just totally not on it for like 2 years, I'd say. And then she said Instagram. We were like, okay, well, we know a lot about wine, and like we're trying these wines every night. So like we started an Instagram, and then this other girl came in one night, and I was was stupid at the time and was like, hey, like this really pretty girl. And I was like, hey, like, my husband and I just started this Instagram, and you should try this wine. And I was like, we're called the Nashville Wine Duo. And she was like, oh, great. And then 5 seconds later, we looked at our Instagram, and I was like, I went and found him. He was in the basement, and I was like, there's like all these people following us right now.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
I was like, what's going on? And we looked at it, and it was this girl, and her name is Shannon Ford, and she was on a show called Very Cavalieri, and she shouted us out on her page. And so that got us about 1,000 followers within 24-ish hours.
Oh my goodness. That must have been quite a night. Just like watching that.
What is going on?
We built it, and then we just started like making it. When you say we just started making it about the customers from that point?
Yeah, making about the customers, and then just traveling around, learning about wine, tasting wine.
Yeah, like in the South, hybrid grapes has been a big thing that we've been about. We've been really learning a lot about hybrids. We've been highlighting the Georgia wine scene. But we really made it about our customers. So like customers that were trying wine, we would tell them about our wines. And then we made like Kelsey and TJ picks, and we would put those up in the store. And then like that kind of generated through the Instagram. So then people would follow us to see what wines we would post when they would come in, new wines, and then they could tag us in it, etc.
Yeah, that is so cool.
That's awesome.
What a great story.
Yeah, super cool. They, know you, trust you. That's awesome. Love it.
That is something.
So we have a question for you guys.
Uh-oh.
Being from Seattle, one of our favorite shows is Frasier. So we want to know your take on Frasier. And if you like Frasier, what's your thoughts on Frasier? How does it, does it do Seattle justice? Like, give us your take on...
Actually, and give us your take on Seattle in general, because I'm not going to lie. Right now, the news is not portraying Seattle to be the best place to be.
Wow.
Okay.
See, okay. Well,
we have an admission to make. I don't think I've ever watched Frasier in my life.
Really?
And I just saw some like interview with one of the guy. What's the guy? I can't remember their names now. One of the
Kelsey
guys.
Grammer or-
No,
yeah.
not Kelsey Grammer, but the other guy.
David Hyde Pierce.
Yeah, him and the woman. I don't know. There must be a couple on the show. They're together again in something
Roz.
new.
No,
Okay,
no,
yeah.
not Roz. Yes.
Okay, so I saw this interview, but again, I was like Joe, I was like, huh, I've never of all that, hubba bubba that comes around and goes around with Frasier, never watched it.
You've never. So both of you, as Seattle
No.
natives, have
No.
never
No.
seen Frasier.
See, that's the
No,
same
but-
thing though. Like you don't, when you
but
live
like-
somewhere, you sometimes don't really pay attention to those things.
Yeah, but like in Frasier, everybody has a view of the Space Needle.
True.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
No, it's not. That's so funny.
But
No.
Seattle, Seattle is a great city.
Yes.
It's I think like every city right now, every city's kind of going through its stuff.
Yeah.
I always say, it's the news is going to sensationalize things. We live in a great neighborhood, a great city. There's trouble there's always troubles in different cities, but Seattle's great.
Yeah.
It's coming, I think like all cities kind of coming out of COVID,
Right.
and there are great neighborhoods in Seattle. There are good people in Seattle. It's a
Right.
pretty friendly place. It's our son's girlfriend is from Chicago, and when she comes, she loves Seattle, and she always says the air is so fresh and
Right.
it's so clean, and it's so I don't know.
Right,
We've
and
lived here our whole lives, so I'm probably a little bit biased.
Sure.
Yeah.
but we love Seattle.
Yeah, I mean we don't. Yeah, and it is. I mean, some in the city, and we're not really too far from downtown Seattle, but yeah, I mean we are having a little bit of troubles, just like Joe said, coming out of COVID, and but we have just beautiful areas too. We have the mountains and we have water, and it's so much greenery.
It's very green.
Yeah, so we do have rain. But we don't have, I don't feel like the rain is what they say it is around here. So, but yeah, so we love Seattle. Like Joe said, we've been here our whole lives. So
Yeah.
And we go to the Space Needle every day.
every day.
Every day.
I'm so
Just
sorry we
riding up
can't.
and
We,
down.
I
Yeah.
feel bad that we can't, give you any information about Frasier though.
No,
Okay,
it's
well,
okay.
that's a
But-
huge letdown, but
well,
we'll
hold
move on.
To be honest though, like hearing what you're saying, I actually feel like a lot of people do the same thing with Nashville. Like I literally had people go through my line yesterday and they were like, I was expecting you all to be a bunch of hicks.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
And I was
yeah.
like, okay, like they were from California, and like people just get this like image of like whatever from TV, and it's like,
Yep.
well, if you've never been somewhere, you really can't fully say
Right. True. For sure. No,
So,
there's
and-
always those like preconceived ideas of a place or a kind of person or something. And but we've always thought that Nashville would be an amazing place to visit. I mean,
Well, same with
What-
Seattle. I mean, always been on my visit list to
mhm.
Seattle and just experience. I love coffee. I love,
Oh yeah.
so I've always wanted to visit Seattle and definitely will do it.
Well, when you
eventually.
do,
Yeah.
you'll have to come for Sunday night
Sunday
dinner.
night dinner.
Oh, you know
okay.
I'm there
Yeah.
Come
with a
over,
bottle of wine
yeah.
in my hands.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'll be
Wait, are
be
we
good.
drinking the wine right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Should
are.
we do it? Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say we haven't. We've
Wait, I have one more question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
do it. Do
Oh,
it.
and I got a
Go ahead,
question
baby.
for you, but go ahead.
I've
Yeah.
written down these
Go
questions.
ahead,
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
I know
Do
Joe
it.
doesn't like Shard.
Mm.
And he
What?
doesn't like Cab.
What?
Oh yeah,
And he
yeah.
doesn't like Merlot.
What?
Oh
So
man,
I
you
was
know this
wanting
guy.
to know if there's any wine that
you do like.
Carmela, because I thought in a previous episode you said you weren't a big Bubbles fan. Am I right?
Me? Oh no,
Yeah.
I love bubbles.
You love Bubbles.
I'm a huge
Okay, So
sparkling
what would
fan.
be the wine that you don't like, Carmela? Because
Well, Oh,
That I like, or
that I don't like.
that Carmela doesn't like.
Because you
Got
don't
it.
like
you
a
don't
lot.
like Shard. Yeah, Shard.
Yeah.
Cab, and Merlot.
hey,
mean,
I like a lot.
yeah.
I like a lot.
You know,
I'm just as Carmela would say, I'm a little bit opinionated.
yeah, he's got a little.
No.
Kind of,
yeah,
yeah,
a
and
little bit, just a little bit.
We're just teasing.
Well, and yeah, well, the interesting thing is this guy in a lot of ways is a huge pleaser, but when it comes to things that he feels really strongly about, all of a sudden I'm like, what happened to my like super thoughtful, like, kind person who will just talk to anybody and be so nice to anybody? No, when it comes to wine, he is a little bit critical. So I would think for myself, I'm probably on the same page as Joe when it comes to like cabs. and Merlots. I definitely am a white wine drinker first and foremost. So I'm not into the big fruity, bold cabs. So yeah, I think we're pretty much on the same page.
But like we say, if you like it,
If you
that's
like it,
awesome.
yeah, it's
We're
Yeah.
okay with
Totally.
that.
Yeah.
And
So
part
you
of
both like bubbles, though.
yeah.
love
so we can,
sparkling.
Any night
so
of the
we can
week.
continue this podcast then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, in fact, we were talking about this the other day is one of the things that's been fun for us is realizing like you can have a sparkling wine anytime.
Yeah.
Oh,
It doesn't
yeah.
definitely.
it doesn't have to be New Year's, it doesn't have to be a special occasion like Tuesday night, open some bubbles. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Have you guys shared wines that you're not interested in, or that maybe just don't fit your
Your taste
like
or
your preference?
or that you
Ooh.
really love.
That's a good question.
Hmm,
What about you, babe?
that we don't.
That's you. You know, it's just you. What do you?
Well, but I think this kind of goes along with and how I like eat too. Like I actually gave up like sweets. Like so I haven't had like cake, ice cream, anything like that in like probably over about 12 years.
Oh my gosh! Wow,
So
good for you.
no candy, nothing. So
Right.
I don't really like sweet wine.
Okay, yeah.
But I will
Mhm.
still try it for like educational purposes. Like I still
Yep.
feel like that's important, and I'll still try
Sure.
sweets at Trader Joe's to like let people know how something will taste.
Yeah.
But in general, like I might even taste it and just like spit it out, just
Yeah.
because it's not like my favorite. But and
Interesting.
if I am to have one, like I was telling you guys about Georgia wine. Muscadine grows a lot in the
Oh,
South,
yeah.
and one of our favorite places that we go to, an Italian winemaker in Georgia. He has the biggest amount, like largest amount of acreage of muscadine in the South, and I really actually enjoy his muscadine. So if I were to have a sweet, I probably would enjoy Simone's muscadine if I were to have it, but overall I do not like sweet wine.
Okay,
Got it.
yeah. Huh.
And for me, I mean,
Yep.
I tend not to. Sometimes red blends can be too fruity for
Oh
me.
yeah.
Mm,
And it
okay.
tastes just like grape juice.
Right.
And for me, like I'm opposite of you guys. Like I like a big bold cab. I like tannins.
Mm.
I like a wine journey. Like I like a nice nose. I like up front, like you get something, and then the back end something different. And so I like a little journey on my wine tasting. So red blends tend to be sometimes they'll just grape juice, and
Right.
so I don't like real fruity
I
type
think that's
fruit
more
forward stuff.
commercialized red blends though.
So
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
that's just my kind of.
No, I like how you put that though. You're like the wine journey
Yeah.
from beginning taste to end.
Yeah, I mean,
it is
all
a
starts
different
with the
experience.
nose. If you pour a glass of wine and after I swirl it, like if I gotta know what's in there. You know what I mean? And so that kind of just starts the story off. Like, okay, what does this thing smell like?
Right.
And I kind of like too what you said, Kelsey. For me, what's been actually kind of fun about this podcast and where I'm kind of feeling like we're going is there are wines that I've had opinions about, but I don't know a lot about. And I think that as you taste different wines, like you said, you don't like sweet wines, but in general, but there are sweet wines that you like, but you got to try them. And I found the same thing. Like it's part of kind of a half joke about not liking cabs and not liking Merlots and not liking Chardonnays. There are some that I really do like, but I'm just particular about them. But part of the fun is try different producers, try different vintners, try different regions, and you may find that there's something that you really like that you thought you didn't like, and you actually do. So for instance, for me, like Chardonnay, I was always like, oh, Chardonnay, yeah. And then I tried Chablis or unoaked Chardonnay, and I'm a huge unoaked Chardonnay fan. Huge. Like I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well said, Joe.
Well said. Yeah, and I would agree with that, and I think that you guys get this message off in your podcast, which we have been trying to do too since the start of our Instagram and the podcast. But is that like I think people just need to be open to trying everything, and that's kind of like the hard part is like that. Sometimes when I'm trying to talk to people about a wine, I'll just try to convince them of something, and they're like, "Well, I just don't like that," and I'm like, "Well, you should just try this." And
try it. Yeah.
that's one of the things that, and we've said this, that we really is that like you can try anything and get a return. So
That's
even if
nice,
it's
yeah.
wine, and so like I think that makes it really easy for a consumer standpoint to just go in and buy like 12 bottles of something different, and if you hate it, you could return all 12 and Trader Joe's wouldn't ask a question.
Right.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, and that's seriously true. Like, really it is. And so we try to like tell people about that, and that's what I love is like we're giving people able to try it and not lose money.
Gosh.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, one final question that's
before we talk about this wine, right?
Totally unrelated to wine, but I just have to know how Felix is doing. I listened to your podcast.
I think we might have heard a little Felix
Yeah,
in the
I
background
saying-
there for a second.
You
Well,
did hear
our
him in the
phone was
background.
ringing for whatever.
Yeah,
Our phone
our
never
house
rings.
phone, which is so weird. Yes, we are that old. We still have a house phone, but
What's a house phone?
Yeah, exactly.
Stop it.
Exactly.
yeah. No, I heard your cute story about Felix in one of your podcasts.
Before we started the podcast, I was like, do I throw him in one of the bedrooms so he doesn't like, cause havoc? And I left him out, and sure enough, he comes down here and causes havoc. So
Oh,
I don't know. I
so
think
cute.
that there's a mystery lately that we can't figure out
Mm-mm.
that's been happening with him.
Felix is super smart.
He's very smart.
very
Oh, wow.
intelligent, and too intelligent for his own, well-being. So
Yeah. Aw.
that's what gets him in trouble.
Well, and recently, so he's 2 years old. So we've started to figure out that he actually is learning how to open doors.
Oh
What?
my gosh.
This is becoming a problem, and we don't know how it's happening because he.
Well, I saw him do it one time.
Well, you saw him have to do
Yeah.
it one time.
That
But
is amazing.
So
Cat that
there's
opens
these,
doors.
Yeah.
So like there's these like things from Trader Joe's that we bought like over Christmas. They were like these like, what are they like felt?
They're like felt, yeah.
Felt
Hmm.
like pot holders or like pot. You know the thing that you lay down when you put a pot down because it's hot. What are those?
Yes. Oh, hot plate
Hot plate.
or not?
Yeah,
hot-
so
I don't
there's
know.
one-
A trivet, maybe? I don't
Yeah,
know.
trivet. Yeah, exactly. So they have these at Trader Joe's, and I bought some for TJ's mom, and we're gonna like save them for next Christmas to give to them. Which hopefully she doesn't hear this because now she knows what she's getting. But
Scratch
anyway, so
Scratch it.
he's
Cut that out.
obsessed with that material for some reason.
Huh.
Yeah.
So we have him in a bag. He's trying to attack it, and so we put it inside this cabinet, and we keep coming home every day.
And the-
Okay, this is what's really freaky. They are on the ground, but the
What?
door where they came from is shut.
What is
Like,
going on?
We
That
don't
is-
know
Wow.
how it's
He's
happening.
magic cat.
Oh
a
my
magic
God.
cat.
Well,
He
Felix
might need
might
his
be
own
working with
Insta-
Alexa, and you guys know Alexa.
That's right.
Right?
There's a,
He might need his own Instagram page. It sounds
I
like.
don't
Yeah.
know.
we don't know what's going on.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, but he's super smart, and he's super.
He's coming on here.
Yeah,
right
now he knows we're talking
yeah,
about him, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
But yeah, he's a whole.
Aw.
It's a whole thing.
People on
I love
Instagram
it.
definitely like him though. Everyone's always like, "Where's Felix? How's Felix?" It's just funny.
That's so funny. Oh, okay. Should we start in on
All right.
tasting?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we
Smelling this?
picked this Black Stallion Pinot Noir, which
Mm.
we were told
Actually,
about this.
So okay, yeah. So this was told about to us. Like, so the first year we were doing our Instagram, we were just like doing everything crazy, right?
Yeah.
We
We didn't know
we
what
had
the hell
some
we were doing.
followers, and there's a girl named Becca, and she actually messaged us and said, "I tried this wine at a restaurant." She said, "If you guys can find it, I would be like your forever fans." So we did a whole segment in our stories. Like, this is when stories were brand new, and in our stories we were like, "Becca, we're gonna find this wine for you," and we found it.
Oh wow.
And we were like, wow, this Pinot Noir is amazing. We can understand why she loved it so much. So it's great.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now here we are 2 years later, and this is probably a totally different vintage and
Yeah.
region and all this kind of stuff. So yeah.
Well, when TJ, when you said, can you find this wine? I was like, of course. I immediately was like on a quest. I'm on a quest, and it was not super easy to find, but it is. So I went to the Black Stallion website, and they actually have a cool little tool, like a little map, and you put in your zip code, and it'll tell you where it's sold. So the quick story is, I went to the first store, like the first store that was closest to me. I'm not kidding. Went to the store, went to the Pinot Noir section, and there was the label, and it was out.
Oh wow.
And I'm like, what is it? Come on. What is the
Everybody's drinking it.
Yeah,
They
and
saw you, TJ.
I
and
guess,
Kelsey, and
I
they were
guess.
like-
Well,
and so I asked the guy, the wine guy, and I'm like, hey, where's the wine? And he's like, hey, if it ain't on the shelf, we don't have it. I'm like, oh my God.
man.
So I went to a store. I've never been to this store before. It's like a little wine and beer shop. It's called Super Lucky.
Oh wow.
super lucky. I like that
Super
name.
lucky. And I got super lucky.
And it was your lucky day.
and I found it. And then I was in a panic. I panicked, texted TJ, I'm like, did I get the right wine? And he was like, chill out, you're okay. And so we got it. But yeah,
So
no,
is yours a
awesome.
2018?
It is
2019?
a 2019.
Okay,
We
so
got
we
the
are drinking a
2019.
different vintage. We're drinking a
Different vintage.
2018.
Okay.
Okay.
But that's
Okay.
okay.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Okay.
So
So
what do
you're
you
Las
think?
Caneras.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's right. Las
So
Carneros.
what do you guys get on the nose?
You know, this is, to me, it's got that kind of classic Pinot Noir. I always think of cherry licorice, like a
Ooh.
sweet, kind of tart, sweet cherry licorice. That's what I'm getting on this. And I'm also getting some smoke. Definitely getting
Yeah.
smoke.
I
Definitely
get
getting some
smoke
smoke.
for sure. Even though these are different, like from a year apart, I get the smoke for sure. And I'm sure you know they're the same grapes from the same place.
Right.
You know, and I was reading on the back of the bottle of this, I guess there was a huge equestrian scene back in the day in Napa. And so they actually took this Black Stallion name and named it after the scene that was going on there in California.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so which I thought was pretty cool.
Well,
because-
go ahead, TJ. Sorry.
Oh no, I just thought it was cool that there was a big equestrian estate there, and that's kind of how it stemmed from having a winery there.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys, this is how old I am. All right, this is how old I am. There was a movie called The Black Stallion,
Do you know that movie?
and I went to it in the movie theater.
Wow,
That's
Jack.
how old I am.
I
and
know.
I
I
remember
saw that movie. I know what you're talking about.
I love that movie.
It's a great. I think
Yeah,
is
it's a
there
good
a
movie.
is there a remake of that though?
Probably because I'm so
Probably
old. They
maybe.
probably remade it
We only know the original. Okay.
Yeah, in the
no.
theaters, you know? Oh,
Yeah.
God.
Oh gosh. Yeah. No. I don't know if I saw it in the theater, but it was a great movie. That's for sure.
What do you think, Carmela?
Well, I'm getting the dark, kind of a dark berry. I'm getting the cherry too. A little bit of smoke. Maybe even a little bit of spice
Yeah.
too.
It is a little spicy.
agree.
It's got some
Like
spice on it.
pepper,
It's got a little pepper on it. I think that's right. Yeah.
I think you guys are right on the money. So I'm actually looking at I'm reading from what the site says as you're
Okay.
talking. Because I wanted
Okay.
to see what you all said.
What do they say?
So it's a hearty, full-bodied wine from the appellation. This red is also invitingly earthy, intense, and lush. Baking spice, which is why we're getting the spice from. Sage and black cherry combine around a supple core of ripeness and varietal character, finishing powerfully in toasted oak.
Yep.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
and I think one of the things I love about this is with Pinot Noir, it can be Pinot Noir is very diverse. Like it can be so light, it can be medium, it can be like full body, like super full bodied, really velvety, like almost over the top sometimes, where you're like, I can't even have a lot of this. This one I think is just so good.
Yeah, it is really
this
good.
is one of these ones where it's it tastes perfect with food. But it's still it's got just enough to be okay, this is I'm feeling it in my mouth, it's coating my mouth, it's good. It's not too light, I like the body of it, and
yeah, it's pretty balanced too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not because again, sometimes they're too much for me. Not a Pinot. I like the Pinots. This is probably my favorite of the red wines, but no, I do feel like the flavors are pretty balanced, which is sometimes what kind of, at least for me, is a real important quality too. So it's really good.
Yeah, it's pretty smooth. I think it would taste great with food. I will say we opened this one a little bit early.
Oh, okay.
And as it's kind of airing out, it's even mellowing more. I actually think, because we have the 2019, I think you guys said you have the 2018.
Yeah.
I actually think this one could sit for a while. I think it has some legs where it could sit around and not be drunk right away and kind of continue to mellow out. I think it's nice though.
Well, and it's interesting you say that. We've been learning more and more from doing this that people are saying that Pinot Noirs really should be drunk 4 years.
4 to 5 years.
Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah.
4 to 5 years. Because we had one the other day that was a 2020.
Yeah.
And didn't care for it too much. I think we actually had called you about that and talked to you about it before we did this.
Oh wow.
And not we haven't had any time period that weren't great, but I maybe that is a true thing, that maybe they need to be aged a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, I think actually that is a tendency. I find that a lot of times with Italian wines. This is kind of I'm nerding out. I'm geeking out. Okay, ready to geek out a little bit,
There we
but
go.
especially I'll see on Instagram, a lot of people will have oh, a Barolo, and they open it up and it's like, a 2018 or 2016. I'm like,
Oh
that's
yeah,
still
no, that's
too
really
young.
early for a Barolo.
Yeah, way too, or a Brunello or something. Like, you guys gotta
Yeah.
wait. And I think very often, even like cabs, Pinot Noirs, they really do mellow out. We have some nice, okay, so I'm gonna admit it, Cabernets. I like Chateau Saint Michel's Cabernets because they're really mellow, and as they age, they get even more mellow, and they're really nice and nice with food, and they're just sort of smooth, and you kind of want to give them a big bear hug and hold them close, and so I like that. So I do think this wine to me it's young. It feels young. It's still a little bit astringent. It's still a little bit, what's the word, like, tight, and it just needs a little bit of time to mellow out, but it's got great flavor.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a nice wine.
Good. Well, we appreciate you guys rushing around and trying to find this bottle. And,
Yeah. For sure.
All good. Super
I
fun.
think it's really delicious, and yeah.
Are there any plans of you coming to visit Nashville?
Well, now there are.
I know. We
You guys
would-
could stay with
What
us.
will you?
Oh my gosh, we're coming.
What will you? What will you take? What will you have us do?
Yeah, what would we do in
We
Nashville?
just drink wine.
We would.
Okay,
well,
perfect.
no,
Done.
Perfect.
we would.
yeah.
We would take you downtown, and you'd have to sing a song at a honky tonk bar.
Okay, I'm in.
No.
And
Oh,
since
don't-
you're Joe,
Look,
since
do
you're a
not
singer,
encourage.
we
Do
expect
not
a lot from
encourage.
you.
You know what though, for
He's
real
darn
though,
good.
that is like one of the coolest things. Like, okay, there's a lot of stuff that like really sucks about the internet and social media. Like, we can all admit that. But like for real, like just telling you guys about our Georgia trip that we're about to take. Like, we've been doing that for the past 2 years, and we've gained relationships through that with
I bet.
winemakers and people that have come. We're going. That's what this is all. Guys like who say this, we're right up in a week. Oh, you guys can come here and like.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I know Joe was saying the same thing beforehand. He was like, it's just, the connections the positive connections you can make.
It's the best part of it.
Yeah, it's so fun. Who would,
We never would have met you guys. We never would have known anything about Nashville or what you do, and that's the
Right.
best part. Like
Yeah.
this conversation.
Agreed.
I love it.
Agreed.
Yes.
I think we need
Next
to keep
time
this
we're
up.
gonna, yeah. No, we'll be there. Really, it is a place that we have really considered visiting. So, so yeah, we may just be, dialing you up and coming to
Go
hang
to a
out.
Titans game.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you
Well, and
go.
if not
Yeah.
before then, we would still love to do another podcast with you guys.
Oh,
on.
we'd love it. We'd
Yeah.
love to.
We really would.
Very
and
fun.
we'll pick out the wine and make you guys drive around.
And you know
find
what? We'll make
Ooh,
you dinner.
yes.
No,
Love
just
the
kidding.
attention, especially Kelsey.
No.
She's so
Yeah.
spontaneous.
Okay.
I
Alright,
love it. I
Well,
love it.
thank you guys so much for like being
thank
with us
you.
tonight, and it was really fun drinking this wine with y'all.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
bet.
Enjoy your evening, and we'll talk soon.
Yes. Cheers.
All right. Take care.
Awesome. Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye bye.
Thank- Night.
Ciao,
Bye,
ciao.
guys.